for those of you who missed my YouTube short, I got ripped off at Best Buy because I bought these speakers about a month and a half ago thinking that they were R3 Metas, because that's what it says on the box, that's what it says on the back of the speaker. But an eagle-eyed viewer pointed out in my comment section that these only say UniQ driver array underneath the UniQ, and then above there it doesn't say anything, while on real R3 Metas it says Meta Material Absorption Technology underneath the UniQ, and then it says UniQ driver array up top. So these are actual R3 Metas, these are original Kef R3s. It looks like what happened was somebody owned a pair of gloss black original Kef R3s, and then he bought R3 Metas from Best Buy. He swapped the rear terminal plate so that it would say R3 Meta on the back of the speaker. Then he dropped those in the box and returned them to Best Buy. So he got a free upgrade. So it's funny because after I did a couple of videos with what I thought were the Kef R3 Metas, like I did the review of these, and then I did the comparison of these versus the Q Concerto Metas, which those were definitely Concerto Metas because they didn't make a Kef Concerto non-Meta that looked like that in the past. But yeah, there were a couple of people who requested if I could do a review of the original R3 versus the R3 Meta, and my response when people asked that was, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that because it might be difficult for me to find an immaculate pair of Kef R3s since they haven't been produced for a couple of years now. But it turns out that's what I have had for the past month and a half or so. And so I ran out and bought an actual pair of R3 Metas as well, so now I can do the comparison and see just how much of a difference there actually is. And then also, does this mean that my videos that I did before with these, thinking that this was the R3 Meta, are those videos completely invalidated? So that's what we're going to be getting into after the intro. So make sure that you give this video a like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll get into it. Are incredibly similar. Like basically Kef changed very little in between the original R3 and the R3 Meta. Both speakers stand at about 15 and 11/16 tall, 7 and 15/16 of an inch wide, and about 13.5 inches deep. I did put these speakers on the scales though, and the R3 Meta actually weighed in a little bit lighter. The R3 Meta was 25.6 pounds, while the original R3 came in at 26.8. So a little tiny bit of a weight difference there. Yeah, but not basically as far as the dimensions and even like the driver sizes and everything, they're exactly the same with the 6.5-inch woofer that's an aluminum on paper design, and then the 5-inch mid-range with the 1-inch tweeter with the UniQ driver array. That's all exactly the same. And also the speaker sensitivity is the same at 87 dB. 4 ohms. Frequency response is rated down to 58 hertz, although you will get much lower than that in room. I'm usually getting somewhere around 32 hertz in my room, which is a 13 by 16 foot living room with the speakers pulled about a foot away from the front wall. About what's similar between these two speakers, or I should say exactly the same. What's actually different? Well, pretty much the only differences are going to be in the UniQ driver array, which is the concentric driver with the mid-range and the tweeter, and then the stuff around that. So on the actual R3 Meta here, right away you can tell that the shadow flare, which is essentially just what Kef calls the waveguide, it is much more dampened because they put like denser foam behind it. When I pulled this out to basically confirm the difference between these two, the shadow flare on this is pretty well dampened, so it's not gonna like create refracting sounds, versus this one there's a little bit more hollowness to it. That versus that. So that's one difference that you can tell right away. And then when I actually pulled the shadow flare out and pulled the UniQ drivers out, and I'll be able to put up these images here, this is how I confirmed for 100% sure that these are not R3 Metas, because on the back of the like magnet structure for the R3 Metas, it actually says metamaterial absorption technology on the back of like the magnet of the speaker. And on the original R3s, it does not say that. It just says Kef UniQ driver designed and engineered in the UK. And like, so that was how I confirmed for 100% sure that these are not R3 Metas, because there was some thought in my mind of, oh, maybe just like some of them, they didn't print the metamaterial thing, but of course they obviously did. So what is the extra technology that they put into the UniQ driver on the R3 Meta actually get you over the original R3s? Honestly, it doesn't make as big of a difference as I was kind of hoping and expecting. In the bass, they both sound exactly the same. Like there's just no difference in bass, which is to be expected. Their woofers are practically the same, the cabinets are the same dimension, the ports the same size, and the crossover frequencies are the same. So in the bass, they're exactly the same. The difference is gonna be in the mid-range and just a tiny bit in the treble, but mostly in the mid-range. The R3 Meta is a little bit more forward in the mid-range than the original R3. And also it plays a bit cleaner in the mid-range. So the R3, the original R3, a lot of the time, it's not even like that big of a deal, but when you're listening to these like A, B, you can actually hear, particularly in male vocals through the R3, you can hear a little bit of a like boxy resonant type of sound in male vocals that's just not there in the R3 Meta. So that metamaterial absorption technology is doing its job. It's absorbing that back wave coming off of the mid-range driver. And then treble is pretty similar. And actually, if you look, I'll put the graphs up now that I've talked about the frequency response, but for the most part, it's gonna be the same except for a little bit raised up in the mids. And then the treble is actually a little bit smoother as well. It's not a huge difference. The lines are very close, and sometimes they're completely like directly over top of each other. But there's just a little bit more cleanliness in the treble. But the biggest difference between the two is going to be in the mid-range. And then as far as soundstage and imaging goes, that's something that I was really surprised about, because I expected that the metamaterial absorption stuff that they were using in the R3 Meta, I thought that was going to make a really big difference in the way that these speakers imaged, but it's basically the same between these two. They both disappear extremely well into the room and create a very large soundstage, and you can essentially just pick out like vocalist in the center of the room and, you know, guitarist on the left and drums on the right. Like, you can pick out the positioning of all those things like pretty clearly with either of them. It's really just a little bit cleaner mid-range and treble that you're going to get through the Meta versus the original R3. Forgot, I have some sound clips. Now, these speakers sound so similar that the only way that you're going to stand a chance of actually hearing the difference between the two is if you are listening to these sound clips with either some like good quality IEMs or headphones on, or you're listening on some really good quality speakers. But most likely you're going to need to actually be listening with headphones on, because that is going to take your room out of the equation. If you listen to them with headphones on, that's going to be the closest approximation to what the recording sounds like. do I think that if you have a pair of last generation Kef R series speakers, should you rush out and upgrade to the new R Meta series of speakers? The answer is absolutely not. Like if you already have Kef R3s or anything in the last generation R series, don't even like think about whether or not it's worth it to rush out and upgrade to the R3 metas or the R series meta, because their performance is so similar that it would be such a huge waste of money to do it. Now, if you already had these and you wanted to add some towers in your room and put these in the back of the room as surrounds, I mean, these would be massive overkill for surround speakers, but you could buy a pair of R11 metas for your front towers and move the old R series speakers to the back of the room as surrounds, and their performance would be so similar that they would blend in super well together. So like that would be something that you could do. But do I think anybody should feel like they need to upgrade and replace their last generation R series to the R series meta? No, don't bother. The R series meta, or the R3 here that I have tested, is a great speaker. Like it's super good. That meta material does its job. It does exactly what it's advertised to do, but it really only affects the mid-range and like makes that a little bit clearer and a little bit less, you know, boxy sounding. So yeah, and also if you're a deal hunter, if you're looking at places like Facebook Market, Craigslist, Audio Gone, the Music Room, any of these used audio marketplaces, and you see a set of last generation Kef R series speakers at a really good price, like I'm pretty sure that about a month or two ago when I was just like doom scrolling on Facebook Market, I'm pretty sure that I actually saw a pair of last gen Kef R3s on there for something like, I think it was like $750 or maybe it was $900, something like that. Like that is a great bargain. So if you're a budget audiophile and you don't mind like wheeling and dealing, trying to make good deals on the used market, that would be the way to go, because these speakers are literally, I would say 95% as good as the R3 metas. Like that's how little of a difference there is in the performance between these two. So that's my conclusion. Let me know what you guys think. And if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe so that you will see it when I put out more videos and we can continue to grow this channel, because I really want to get up there so I can start getting products sent to me from manufacturers, because buying them and returning them is getting a big pain. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.